What's up, peoples? Um, I had a emotional conversation with one of my peoples in response to a video I posted earlier today. Wasn't necessarily about the video, but I think when I pointed out truths about a condition that affects us in regards to income, education, and some of the realities of the environment that I experienced firsthand. I think they took offense to that because um, that's my kids upstairs running around. That's actually noise they're supposed to make, although it's annoying as shit. But that's a happy. Those are happy kids. But I think what happens is that we are very sensitive to self-criticism. Y'all want to see how I handle them? Carter, Zori, what are y'all doing down here? Did I tell y'all get into bed? So why do I hear y'all running around? Um, I think we're overly sensitive about criticism. So I've been through this before. I've been on this path before where I'm pointing out the obvious things that I've seen and witnessed and was a part of, and that really no honest person can deny. I know what I know the role that reliance on social programs have done. I understand how people can question these programs like Section 8 where you can't get it if you're married. So if you are a woman that have a husband, you can't get Section 8 as if you can still be struggling to provide a home for yourself and your children. I understand, I've seen firsthand how poverty of mind, body, and soul is passed down to kids. I've seen what environments that has neglect do to people. I've been in situations where needing money, just generally speaking, leads people to do anything by any means necessary to take care of theirs and their own. I've seen it. I've even been a part of some of the realities of these environments for a long time. So for someone to be upset or misunderstand or point out the flaw in mentioning the devastation of welfare programs as they are realized in my urban communities, generations of people on welfare, mom, daughter, then their daughter, then their daughter, people who through generations struggle with menial jobs, mothers, daughters, their daughters, and then their daughters, men growing up in the streets, beginning to sell drugs or rob or steal and get murdered or locked up or stuck in a cycle where the only harm that they're doing is to themselves and their brothers and sisters. And I ain't talking about the sale of drugs. So to me, drugs is a economy. I'm talking about when you start hurting your people physically. Brothers robbing, stealing, cheating, and setting up their own brothers, blood and brethren. I've seen young women as young as 13 walking past stores. I used to have a store on Central Ave. They walking past the window looking at their butt. They're having sex. Some cases, babies. Because this is what the environment is. This is the product of the environment. I've witnessed our musical culture instilling bad habits because the lack of family, the lack of a strong family unit. The next teacher is outside the door. The first teacher is inside the house. So I've witnessed this. This is indisputable. So I don't think we have the right in 2020 to articulate what the white man is doing when we have today issues that we can solve through knowledge of self, love of self, love of community, love of the environment, love of our fellow brothers and sisters through the common struggle. I've seen people who struggling and they, through the grace of their own will, invested in themselves, gained a skill, and went from working at a job that pays them $8, $9 an hour, $10, $12 an hour to a job paying them thousands a year, $50,000 a year and more. And although that's not middle class, that is hell of a lot different than poverty class. I've seen brothers come home from doing 10 plus years. Now, traditionally, they will have a difficulty getting a job. And what I've learned through education is that on the one hand, we have a system where we have a question about our background, which is essentially used to deny opportunity to felons, quote unquote. But we also have a scenario where companies have a risk. If you are a violent felon, and violence is just you punch somebody in the mouth from stabbing your mother, whatever the case is. If they hire you and someone spit in your face and smash shit in your mouth and you smack them, that person who got smacked can sue the whole company because they knowingly hired a violent offender. This is risk. This is how the law works. This is how it's used against us. But the reality is that it's a fact, which is why people who come home from doing years, who go get jobs like a CDL or some other specific trade where they work by themselves, they find I know guys who came home 10 years, they're doing better than a lot of people I know who've been out here their whole life. So to know that you can go from 0 up the scale to 4 or 5, 3 is a fact. So I can't talk about gentrification without realizing that in order for us to truly talk about gentrification, we have to talk about the concept and the reality of competition. Can we compete? If it was all wiped away today, can we compete? I'm in Newark. One half of the city is being what we call gentrified, aka developed, and the people who can afford the development are coming in and creating a kind of city in a city where you see a large number of white Americans from New York and other places can come in the city and go to Dinosaur Barbecue, to the hockey rink, and enjoy all these little chick, I think they call them, whatever, chick, these little trendy little bars and things. And you see the whole of North police out there protecting them because they're bringing in money. Yet when you go on the other side of Newark, all you see is sneakers, clothing stores, and pizza joints. That's the reality of an urban, decayed environment. People they want a dollar pizza, a CNC soda. This is what people are focusing on. This and to not go into a tangent. To not go into a tangent. The reality is that there are levels to this shit, and we will never be taken serious until we take ourselves serious. And taking ourselves serious is understanding the first phase is to increase our quality of life. The only way to combat the number of black young men I see when I ride past these high schools in Newark, the only way to combat the vast number of young men and women I see wasting their time already down the path of unrecoverability is to create a healthier environment. It's time for the big homies to start recognizing that these youth is our only way out. And we need to make sure that they're doing the right thing. Because if you struggled your whole life, when your kids succeed, your family tree, the fortune of your legacy changes. It changes. When you have that child who's the first one to go to college, and not just college to get these, like I said, there's levels to this shit. You have to make sure your child is pursuing excellence. Not just going to college to get a degree that's equivalent to a high school degree. They have to be you have to instill upon a mind to become a pioneer in their field. Not just become a lawyer stuck in the rut working. No, to go for their own practice. Challenge technology. Create something new. Go out and be a businessman or businesswoman, not a store owner, not stopping at a small business ownership, not just going into accounting, but going into investment. It's levels to this shit. We got to understand that this game being played, and the only way to compete is to play it for real. There's a lot that's changing. There's a lot of us doing big things, and we got to get into that mindset where we going to support our own. Until this shit get to the point where there's no race-based obstacles, then we can just spend money with whoever. But for the time being, unfortunately, the world is still based on groups and race and culture and things of that nature. So if that's the case, then we got to group together and support our own by all means necessary. We have to be able to talk about this shit for real, raw, and honest. And I'm not playing games talking about white man and all this other shit unless that scenario came up. There's a lot that we can do to solve this shit, to start fixing it for real, a lot. First, let's educate our kids, and then we can talk about creating our own schools.